Hey everybody, this is my 125 gallon tank, and today we are going to do a before and after water change, and we are actually going to look at a little bit of the maintenance while I'm in there too, because we're going to do two specific things today. I had a friend of mine tell me he has a problematic gourami that he needs to rehome, and I think it'll be okay in this tank, so I am going to be putting a new lavender gourami in this tank, and I want to get it ready. And so I need to get the cyanobacteria out of it a little bit, and I want to clean some of the mulm out of the corner. My regular viewers will know that when I clean this tank, I usually swirl everything around, and all of the detritus and mulm and everything settles down into this far end of the tank, into these sort of little purpose-built nooks and crannies that are there for that reason. But today the tank looks fairly clean as far as the mulm on the bottom goes, and the only place I really see a lot of it is this far end, and I do see a lot of it at this far end. It's a couple of inches deep almost, it seems. And so what I'm going to do is just bring the gravel vac right down to this end, and we're going to go ahead and just get a lot of that mulm and junk right out of the bottom. The water change is not really my biggest concern. I just did one not too long ago, so the water parameters are fine, but I do want to get rid of some of that crud. I want to get rid of that mulm in the corner, and when we start looking a little more closely, you can see how I've got that sheeting green cyanobacteria, and it's really starting to create this sort of skin of green film over top of everything, especially in the upper portions of the tank where there's a lot of light shining right on it. And so what we're going to do is we are going to take my little siphon hose, not the gravel vac, and not the big hose that I used if you watched my video last night where we cleaned out Butterbean's tank, and I was using that large siphon hose to suck up the snail shells. This is going to be a sort of medium-sized hose, which does a really good job of getting the cyanobacteria sucked up and removed out of the tank without drawing water out of the tank so quickly that I've got to act fast. And that's the way it is with that other siphon. It's such a large hose that it sucks everything up so vigorously, and that includes the water. I've really got to act quickly when I'm using that one, because I'll fill a 5-gallon bucket up lickety-split. And so this hose will get the cyanobacteria out of there while allowing me time to be a little more leisurely about it, a little more thorough about it, and we'll be able to do that with like one 5-gallon bucket of water, and we won't have to worry about it. So I'm going to get started on all that. I will set the camera up. We will try to get as much video directly of me doing that as possible, and then we'll have a look at the tank once we're done and see how it all cleaned up. So we're going to call that your before. So we're going to call that your before. And there's your after. So while I was in there, I had every intention of using the gravel vac at the far right end of the tank. And we did start there, if you watched all that tedious middle section. But it soon became obvious that what I suspected all along was true. There's just too much stuff in the way, too many nooks and crannies, too many places for the mulm and stuff to get collected. And so at the end of the day, I wound up just sweeping everything down to the far end of the tank anyway. But I did remove a lot of it initially just by getting in there with the gravel vac and got a bunch of that mulm out of there. As far as the cyanobacteria goes, that came out fairly easily. I did not expect or plan to get all of it out of there. There's going to be little bits and traces left over. I'm sure it will grow back like it always does. But as I've said many, many times in the past, I long ago stopped worrying about... See, there's a chunk of it right there that just floated along and landed. And you can still see some little bits of dark green down in there. So again, I didn't get it all, and I didn't expect or intend to, as I was saying. I think about it like mowing the lawn. You know, you don't cut the lawn and, you know, dust your hands off, and that's the last you have to worry about it. The grass is going to grow back, and you're going to have to get it out there and cut it again. And algae and tank maintenance, when it comes to cyanobacteria and stuff like that, I just kind of see it the same way. I got it out of there, I got it cleaned up, the tank looks pretty good, and that'll last for quite a while, but eventually the stuff will start growing back a little bit, and I'll have to get in there and deal with it again. The other thing that you may have noticed by now is my new gourami in the tank. You can see my shark in there making a little bit of trouble again. But a friend of mine had this gourami. He's had it for about a year now, and it's been problematic for a while. As it matured, it started getting aggressive, and he had it in 2 or 3 different tanks. He kept moving it around, trying to find a tank where it wouldn't be aggressive towards his other fish. And like myself, he likes gouramis, and he has a pearl gourami that was getting harassed, and then he had a tank that has a smaller opaline gourami in it, which is the same species as this, a different color morph, but the same species, the 3-spot species. And this fish was apparently harassing that other opaline as well. And so before he took it back to the fish store to trade it in for store credit, he asked me if I'd take it. And I thought it would look pretty good in this tank, where its only real competition is going to be my big Tenopoma acutirostra that's hiding back there in the leaves. And I don't think that little gourami is going to be any concern for that acutirostra. And my other gourami in this tank is my big snakeskin gourami, which is about 8 inches now, and therefore likewise I don't think is going to be any issue for that little lavender gourami to be in there making that big of a deal. So if you're noticing my shark dashing around in the background, my lights just came on for the day, and that's kind of a daily ritual. He got to let everybody know that he's the boss of the tank, and he chases those algae eaters around until they sort of get the idea. You can see right there he's not really harassing it or bothering it anymore, so he gets it out of his system pretty quickly. By nature, the sharks are sort of aggressive fish, so that behavior is never going to go away entirely, but as long as it's a tenable situation, whereas, you know, the fish aren't going to be harassed to the point where it's going to cause issues, then I'm fine. I'm not worried about that little bit of chasing around, a little bit of darting and dashing once in a while. You know, good exercise for the fish, not a concern there. So that's about it. I wiped the glass down inside and out. I vacked out as much of that cyanobacteria as I could, within reason, of course. You can see some of it on the gravel in the far back in the corner there. Again, I know I didn't get all of it. Wasn't the goal, not my intention, not really concerned about it. You can see how much cleaner I got this corner. You can see the rock that's down there. There's a couple of them. And then you can actually see that piece of woodwork that I always talk about. It's a really large piece of wood in there. Has roots and stuff all attached to it. And underneath of that is a fairly large cavity. You can actually stick the plastic end of a gravel vac all the way down to about here underneath this piece of wood. So it holds a lot of mulm and detritus and crud and stuff under there. And I'm also currently wondering if it's not holding my new Cyanobacteria catfish that I put in this tank. I put a Cyanobacteria utaris in here, an African featherfin squeaker. Have not seen it in several days now. I looked really hard this morning, and I think, even though you can't really tell, there is a real slender cave right here where these two rocks meet. And I think I saw a glimpse of a fin as I was trying to peer through the weeds in there this morning. And I think I saw a little glimpse of a fin or a, a barbel or something like that. It looked like a little bit of movement that was not plant-based. It looked like it was part of a fish. So I think it is hiding under there, but I'm not 100% sure. I haven't really seen it out and swimming around. It's not coming out at feeding time and not being particularly active. But I haven't found it dead or bloated. The tank doesn't stink or anything like that either, so that's always a good sign. I'm sure it's in there somewhere. It's just really small, and it's going to take a while to grow in. Boy, that shark's giving them what for this morning. Running the whole length of the tank. So there you go, everybody. That's a look at my 125 after some maintenance and the addition of yet another new fish. I am planning on adding some more rainbow fish to this tank in the fairly near future. Financial concerns are an issue at the moment. Rainbow fish are not the cheapest of fish you can get, and the ones I'm looking at are not even the cheapest rainbow fish you can get, so we'll have to wait and see how that works out. If you want to support me, you can always check out my Patreon page. I always do videos over there about this, that, and the other thing. That's always a good way to support me. You can always like, subscribe, comment, share, all that good stuff. That always helps me too. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Make sure you're subscribed. Don't forget this is my 125 gallon tank. I'll see you real soon in the next one.